Hello everyone, welcome back to our GRE training series. Today we'll be looking at analytical writing assessment, and we'll be doing this by looking at the 7 key elements that you need to master to ace this section of the GRE. My name is Eliandi. I'm a trainer here at the Kenya ALIF program. So let's begin. We'll start by this first one, this element of cognizability. This one basically means the ability to be clear and easy to understand. So your writing should be clear and it should be easy to understand. Basically, what we are saying here is that your readers or the examiner of the essay should not read your writing and start scratching their heads wondering what you are talking about or what you are writing about. The writing should not be jumbled up. Yes, basically anyone who understands English should be able to pick up your writing and read and understand the point you are putting across or the point you are making right from the introduction. Okay. So ask yourself, while writing this essay, ask yourself, will the reader or the examiner understand what you are writing without straining too much? Or are you leaving your readers or the examiner scratching their heads trying to figure out what you mean? So that deals with, that is cognizability. Write an essay that is clear and easy to understand. Then we come to the second point, or rather the second element, that is the organization or the anatomy of the essay. A good essay should be organized from the start to the finish. And this one is not such a complicated element because for analytical writing assessment, basically the structure should be an introduction. That is the first paragraph. Then the subsequent paragraph should deal with the main arguments or the points. Yes. Then once you are done with the main arguments or the points, you conclude the essay. So this is what we mean with the organization of the essay. Just divide it into specific parts. That is, you introduce your essay, you put up the main points, and then you come to the conclusion. The main body, that is the main arguments or the points, this should be the bulk of the essay. It should have the bulk of the essay because this is what you are writing about after all. The first part, that is the paragraph or the introduction, just introduces what you are about to write about. Now, in as much as your essay should be organized in this manner, it doesn't mean that everything should be discrete or that everything should stand on its own, but rather your writing should still flow. The introduction should flow into the main body, and the paragraphs of the main body should also connect, and then the conclusion should tie up everything together. Okay, then the third one is sentence structure, the structure of your sentences. And here the main thing is to remember is variation and moderation. Yes, your sentences should be varied in terms of complexity. For example, complexity. That is, you should have simple and complex sentences. Yes. So it should not be that all your sentences are simple or just have one part, or all your sentences are complex, that is made up of different or multiple phrases. Vary them, because your writing needs to be natural. And natural writing, good natural writing has varied complexity in terms of sentence structure. So be on the lookout for that. Then also the variation also affect the length. Yes. For example, it shouldn't be that all your sentences are 10 words. That would be too mechanical. It wouldn't make sense. It would look like something you wrote using artificial intelligence tools. Yes. So vary your sentences. You should have short sentences, medium sentences, long sentences. That is, it should just come out naturally. Then you should also vary the type of, should also have variations on the types of sentences. Yes, for example, we have some types of sentences are declarative sentences. These are simple sentences that you use just to make a statement. Yes. Sentences that just make statements. Then we also have interrogative statements. Interrogative statements come in the form of questions. So declarative statements end in periods, that is full stop. Interrogative sentences end in question marks. Then we also have exclamatory sentences. That end in exclamation marks. This one is used to convey certain moods. Yes. Then basically you need to mix up your sentences so that they are varied in complexity. You have simple sentences, complex ones, you have short sentences, medium, lengthy sentences, you have declarative, interrogative, or exclamatory sentences. Otherwise, if you stick to a certain sentence structure, that is, maybe you just stick to simple sentences of medium length and they are all declarative, your writing won't be that good. It won't be natural, and that will make you lose some points in your essay.
You are watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by the Kenya Airlift Program. The Kenya Airlift Program is an award-winning education financing scheme that helps bright Kenyan students to pursue graduate studies in North America regardless of their financial background. You can find our programs by going to www.kenyaairliftprogram.com. The Kenya Airlift Program, empowering dreams.
Then we come to the fourth element, that is vocabulary use. Just like sentence structure, your vocabulary should also be varied. Varied vocabulary. Yes, what we are basically saying here is that you should not write like a first grader. Don't write an essay that reads like it was written by someone who has just learned how to write. But also on the other end of the scale, your writing should not be so complicated and so difficult that a reader requires a dictionary to understand it. Yes. That is, for example, for lovers of English literature, if you've come across this novel, Ulysses, by James Joyce, then you'll recognize what I'm talking about. This is one of the most difficult novels, especially in terms of vocabulary. don't aim for this in the GRE. You are not writing to impress the examiners with your knowledge of difficult English words, but aim for something in the middle. Write for an average reader. Yes. Use the kind of English or the kind of vocabularies you would use, for example, in your undergraduate studies. And that means there will be, of course, some simple words, and there will be, of course, some difficult to understand words. A good mixture of this is good enough for your analytical writing assessment. Then, sorry for that. Don't forget that this, in as much as the GRE test for your logical reasoning or analytical writing, it's also to some extent a test of English. So it's also a test of English. And that means you must follow the standard rules of language and grammar. You must follow this. Yes. Okay, one mistake or something like that might not hurt you that much, but you'll earn a low score if your writing is full of grammatical mistakes. And remember, the ETS, that is the makers and examiners of GRE, provides a word processor that doesn't have spell checking. Yes, so there is no spell checking, and also there is no grammar checking. So you must write everything not expecting the word processor to suggest good spelling or something like that, or to correct your grammar. Yes. So ensure everything is up to standard, keeping in mind what you have learned so far about English, language, and grammar. Now, the sixth element is arguments. The arguments are basically the main points that you are using to support your position in this essay. Actually, this is the meat of the essay. And something like 3 paragraphs here will be enough. 1 point per paragraph. So if you can have 3 points, 3 strong points for your essay, that is adequate. Yes. But remember, these points, or rather this argument, should be compelling. Yes. Someone reading your essay should be convinced as to the position you are taking in this essay. They should be reading and nodding their heads. Yes. Accepting that your points or your arguments make sense within the context of your essay. Then lastly, don't forget about support. Don't forget about support for your essay. Support gives the backing for the points or the arguments. Yes. And support should mostly come in the form of examples. So for analytical writing assessment, ensure that each point has an example. Each point is supported. So each point should have an example. Yes. Make sure the examples are relevant. Relevant to the essay and to the arguments that you've just made. Yes. Someone should not read your point and then read an example or a support and then start wondering how the two tie up together. So that's just basically it for the elements you should focus on when writing analytical writing assessment in the GRE. Cognizability, that is, the writing should be clear and easy to understand. Organization, your essay should be well organized from introduction, main body, and conclusion. Then the sentence structure should be varied. Vocabulary use also should be varied. It should neither be too simple nor too complex. The language and grammar should obey the standard English language rules. The argument are the main points that form the bulk of the essay, and you should have at least 3 arguments, 1 argument per paragraph. And then lastly, you should support your writing. That is basically you should have examples that back up the main points you are making. The examples should be relevant to the essay and to the points that you just made. So by focusing on these 7 elements, you'll be able to write a good essay that should score good points in the GRE. And that brings us to the end of our GRE session today. I believe you have learned something. So with that, bye and welcome back to our next session.